but he's a wonderful philosopher, and he does wonderful work. And you can probably understand why I like him, or why I like his art. Anyway, he did an essay on tangles. Lately, I have wanted to include much unorganized material, even disorder, in my landscape. I've become less interested in order, which may mean little else than the tendency to fit nature into pre-existing schemes. Instead, I want to express as accurately as I can the simple perception that nature is a mess. It is only human interference that permits us to see borders and roads, mowed fields, houses, or penetrable forests. When left alone, nature provides tangles. Last year's weeds, broken trees, windfalls, and vines. It takes away from nature to try at all times to disentangle these. So I'm embracing tangles. And I think that we should all, at one time or another, embrace tangles and see where it leads us. Also, someone asked at the break, I do have a website, and you can see I try to keep it fairly up to date. I also have basically all of my historical records and paintings that are worth putting on, or at least I thought were worth the time. Finished works of art, but going back about 3-4 years. So you can kind of see some progression and some movement if you wish. The website is calsportfolio.net. I'm also a member of a group called Uncharted Water, which is 5 of us, and we're just starting. And we're all, as I would call, on the experimental end of watercolor and exploring new grounds, therefore uncharted water. And that website is unchartedwater.net. And if you find any problems on the websites, by the way, contact me because I'm the webmaster. So if you find them, please let me know. This one is fire engine red. In reality, it's quin violet and naphtha. That's what it's called. What can I tell you? Mint julep. You know, you have to wonder who comes up with these names.
It's perfect for St. Patrick's Day.
But
Yeah, what I've been drinking.
And actually, I'm treating this in many ways like I used to. I had a minor in drawing, and I used to draw using a lot of broken lines. And I think you'll find in painting as well as in your drawing that if you break the lines, you get movement. So if you're finding some dead areas in your painting, try taking some color and just kind of breaking the lines or breaking the shapes, and let because the eye begins to move. I also want to get a few darker tones in there. And to do that, what should we do? Let's try, you want blue? Someone say blue? Okay. Let's go with, how about a bit of manganese blue? This might be a little bit too rich, but we'll try it anyway and see what happens. Be a little bit more sparing with this. if, one thing you'll notice on some of mine, and especially on stems, which you won't find in my landscapes, but you will find in other stuff, is I use almost a dry brush, and that gives kind of a texture, because the paper has little knobs on it, and so the texture of the paper, and I'm using a light touch, and that'll kind of give, I'm going to lose that anyway as I go over. I don't know why I was that ridiculous to be realistic. Okay, and I think then that was not dark enough. So we're going to go with, we're going to go with some Lucky Penny. And then I'm going to take some of that very same Lucky Penny. See, that white is coming through. It was a mistake on my part. That white color that I used prior with that orchid is now going to cause me heartache, pain, and trauma.
It's only a piece of paper.
Thank you. But it's only a piece of paper in front of 100 people. And this is just to give it a little bit richer, dark tone.
When you pick up a color, do you know how it's going to look on top of what's underneath? I mean, or is it just pretty much playing around?
You know, I'd love to tell you that it's all off the wall, but tell you the honest truth, I usually have an idea of what is going to happen if I use it. For example, this color, when it dries, is going to have to be brightened up because it's going to dull down. So I already know that ahead of time.
So how do you brighten it?
Use brighter color.
Start all over again.
In essence, yeah. And, you know, you just then get a richer texture. I've lost my lights again. Golly darn.
And you could do that because you're going right from the tube to the brush. Is that it? Or otherwise you get mud, I think.
But if you like mud.
Am I getting mud?
No.
Oh.
No.
Not yet, yeah. Keep working at it, right? You know, I think some of that is. I think that in reality some of that is. There is truth to that. But working directly from the tube and working with pure color. And the fact that really there is some drying going on between all these coats. I mean, the paper is wet, but there is still some drying that's gone on. So, you know, you're not taking solid wet color and mixing it up with other solid wet color that would give you kind of that mud that you might get otherwise. What am I? I'm in real trouble, aren't I? I think what we need to do is we're gonna have to be a little creative here. And, yeah, this, you know, I don't wanna be too boring. So, we're gonna, oh no, that's bad. There you go, there was an answer to that question. By the way, if you get American Journey watercolor, there is one color that you can avoid. It's called coffee with cream. It is the most disgusting, awful color on the face of the earth. I have no idea what anybody does with it, but the name fascinated me, so I bought it anyway. And I used it once and proceeded to immediately cover it up. And if anybody finds out a real use for it, I would appreciate knowing. Back in. A little highlight.
What is that?
This one is actually an old color I had. It's another cadmium yellow. It's a cad yellow deep, but American Journey does not make a cad yellow deep. So I am forced to. Now this color is going to make the parts of the tomato look kind of anemic. But that's okay, because what are we going to do? We're going to cover it up with another cut. And all it's doing is helping me recapture some of the shape of that tomato. And I just need some light color to help me do that. Now I'm looking, you'll note at the photograph a little bit more, because I did get into trouble with a couple of my previous tomatoes.
What was their name?
That, I like the shape of those tomatoes, but the color and the shape as it developed, just, I mean, you know, they were apples, what can I say? And that's not what I was intending to make. I'm not at all happy with the stems, I mean the leaves. I think we're going to pull out a little peachy keen. And I do also often get a lot of paint on my arm. And I'm just going to...
Your shirt is still.
And I repeat, peachy keen is one of my favorite colors. I just cannot say enough. For all the bad things I said about coffee with cream, take that in reverse for peachy keen, because I just love the effect that peachy keen can give me. But if I overdo it, I'm going to really regret it, and I'm going to have to try to take it up. And what does peachy keen have a lot in?
White.
So, and don't forget that God gave us fingers, and they're a wonderful device to use on occasion. They're great blending tools, especially if you want to get that kind of more texture